I'm Sophie.
And I'm Phaedra.
And this is my best view. Phaedra, what was your best view this week?
Well, I do believe, Sophie, that you and me have a joint best view.
I think it's iterations of the same view. You had a first-hand view, I had a second-hand view.
All right. So my best view this week was truly historic. I feel like we have reached a new height in this podcast because of what I was viewing. What I viewed was Sarper liking our podcast Instagram story. Genuinely, I was out of the house and I stopped in my tracks on the streets of Manhattan. I said, whoa, you people have to walk around me. Something groundbreaking just happened.
And by extension, my best view was receiving a screenshot from you of that, like, monumental for us all.
The group chat popped the fuck off. We got a like from Sarper, and then we got a like from Mahdi as well.
I will add, the way we got these likes was by reposting stuff about them on our stories. And specifically what Sarper and Mahdi posted, which we reposted, were videos in solidarity with the protesters in Iran, which we really appreciate that they're both being political in this way. Obviously, we stand with the protesters in Iran as well.
We're waiting on bated breath to see what happens in Iran, but we're hoping for the best.
Our hearts are fully with the protesters, and we're really in awe of their bravery for everything that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Let's get into it. Starting so strong with Sarper and Shekinah. I feel like at this point they've realized what works because they always start with Sarper and Shekinah, and I'm actually totally fine with that.
Me too. We need to ease into things because I feel that they're always lighthearted. Even when there's conflict, it's like, I can't help but laugh at these two. With love.
I agree.
So we start this episode with, a little domestic bliss vibes in their own way. Shekinah is making a protein shake for her and Sarper for breakfast.
Okay, so I guess that's the only thing they can cook is a protein shake.
Because there's no smell. Again, guys, we have to remind you, the kitchen is also where her professional esthetician setup is. So the only thing they can cook, if you can call it cooking, is a shake.
I mean, they're both definitely in that world of gym going, whatever, but I feel like the shake is actually less about that side of them and more about the fact that they're it's soylent. They're what can we whip up that will meet our nutritional needs without creating any sort of smell?
Literally. So Shekinah asks how it was meeting her friends, and Sarper says that everything was great except for Dan, which is really funny to be yeah, everything was great because Dan was actively screaming at them and stormed off from the table.
Also was maybe the only friend who actually spoke.
But I will say it does lend to my ongoing theory that this is acting, because I was like, what do you mean everything went great? Because they know that that's fake, so they are not taking it seriously.
Interesting. I know what you mean. I just want to say Sarper is just so funny. I have evolved so much with Sarper. When I first saw him, I was get this idiot off my screen. And now I'm kicking my feet. I'm oh, Sarper.
You're being cutesy like he is sometimes.
I'm being cutesy to get my visa. Anyway, he was so funny. The way he goes, everything was good with the friends except for a little detail, a little French detail. He's just so funny. I love him.
I never have to write down as many direct quotes as I do with these two. Maybe the throuple this episode was rivaling that. He did rivaling that. But
oh my God, let's not get into that. That's our new Wicked.
So Sarper to Shekinah on the couch while they're drinking their protein shakes explains that he understands that, unfortunately, Dan is a part of Shekinah's friendship group, and that just is how it is. But if Dan does that again, it will, quote, be the last time he sees modern Sarper. So, dun, dun, dun. We really have been getting hints that there's a difference between Sarper now and Sarper back then. And I feel like in this episode, we're peeling layers back on the onion. We're seeing some historical facts.
Shekinah does say, he's so different than he used to be, which makes me wonder if, that means he's different from when he met her sister and things went off the rails. Loki sounds like he's, maybe engaging in a bit of anger management. That kind of sounds like the core of what modern Sarper is. But then I Sarper's basically saying, yeah, I'm happy you like the modern Sarper, but if anyone's mean to me, I'm gonna become old Sarper again. I was okay, well.
But it's funny because okay, let's just assume that Dan wasn't acting, which for me is a huge assumption I'd have to make, but let's say he wasn't and that was all authentic. Sarper didn't fight back, really.
No, he did a good job, but he's just saying if he's pushed further, he will.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's almost a disconnect between how he sees himself and how he actually is.
It does feel hard to reconcile the current, what we've seen of Sarper with like the description of the way he is always like fighting people and whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. We need to watch the prequel shows to actually learn more about this, I think.
Yes. Now we cut to an interview with Sarper and Shekinah in it, and Sarper tells Shekinah that in the past, when he has a problem with someone, quote, "We go man to man, we fight, but right now I'm modern. I'm trying to solve everything by talking." Shekinah tells him she loves this modern version of him and hopes he doesn't go back to his old ways. And Sarper says, "I hate this version of mine, but I understand it." So back in the moment on the couch, Shekinah tells Sarper that she was glad he didn't sink to Dan's level last night, and it makes her feel better about the idea of Sarper meeting her daughter Sophie and the rest of her family. First of all, really interesting that you have a friend who you recognize as like a lowlife.
I also thought about that. It kind of does speak to the actor theory, to be honest.
So this transitions us into the plot of this episode when it comes to Shekinah and Sarper, which is the idea of him meeting her daughter, Sophie. Again, with an F, not a PH, like our Sophie, which is unfortunate, but good name nonetheless. So in an interview, but now with Shekinah alone, Shekinah explains that Sophie hasn't met Sarper yet because of, quote, the bad things she's heard of him from her family, which you've kind of heard about before when Sophie did come up previously. Now back in the moment on the couch, kind of all of a sudden, Shekinah says that they should go make the bed because it's morning time. And Sarper says, and he has this little smirk on his face, and he goes, "Let's go to the bed, but I don't promise to be modern there. Caveman." And Shekinah laughs. Then they go to walk up the stairs to the bedroom, and Sarper keeps repeating, "Caveman is coming. Caveman is coming." And dude, okay, two things. I don't know why, but I can tolerate Sarper's sex jokes when I don't tolerate the sex jokes of any other man on this show. How do you feel about that?
I think because he's like goofy. Like he's not like, "I'm gonna fuck you." Like he's just like, "I'm a caveman." Like it's silly. I don't feel like he's saying this stuff like actually truly reveals any details about their sex life. Or some of the other people, I'm like, ew, too much information. No, thank you.
True. Side note, the last thing he says when they're running up the stairs together with Shekinah is, and I'm going to try to imitate it. He goes, "Sarper, Sarper." And I like to imagine that when Sarper orgasms, he screams his own name instead of Shekinah's in that exact tone.
I believe it 100%. I don't even have to think about it. Yeah, for sure.
He's like, "Sarper,
Sarper."
God bless him.
Amazing.
So now Sarper, God damn it.
Sharper image.
So now Shekinah and Sarper go on a plane to go visit her daughter Sophie in Northern California. They're in LA currently, as a reminder. So Shekinah is very excited and Sarper is nervous. Shekinah says she thinks it will go great. In an interview, Shekinah says that she brought Sarper with her to see Sophie, but she hasn't actually told her daughter that he's there too. Again, what the fuck is up with these people hiding shit? Is this producer manipulation being like, "Oh, you know what? I really think you shouldn't tell your daughter. That's going to go better," for some reason? I'm like, oh.
I really don't think so, because later it's revealed that like she's like always done a terrible job of like integrating Sophie into her relationships. So I feel like she just like doesn't have a good sense for how to approach things. Well, you know what's interesting to me is like, I'm not even referencing one specific thing that happened, just a recurring theme in the episode is like, there's this weird dissonance where she kind of keeps being like, "Sophie's the most important person in my life. I wouldn't marry someone who she didn't approve of, blah, blah, blah." But then like also has not integrated Sophie into her life at all. And like, this is a small detail. I'm really not trying to be critical if this is like a financial thing, but like I am confused by Shekinah's finances because it seems like she spends lavishly on some things, but like has a very small home/office. So like, but like one thing I'm confused about is like, where does Sophie go on school breaks? Like, is there room for Sophie in Shekinah's home? I just feel like it's this odd thing of like, she's created a life that is actually impossible to integrate her daughter into, but then is also saying like, my daughter's the most important thing. It struck me as odd the whole episode.
Totally. So in the car, Sarper asks Shekinah what Sophie thinks of him, and Shekinah says that Sophie's opinion is based on what she's heard from her family. So we cut to an interview where Sarper says that him meeting Shekinah's sister Shariah before did not go so well. So we then see a flashback that we've seen in a previous episode. Again, zero context is given, so it's just as confusing. Sarper says in this flashback, "You know, your sister acts like a slut." Shariah says, "Wait, what?" Sarper, "Slut."
As if it was like an acoustic issue. He's like, "So SLUT?" I said,
slut, like that. And then Shreya says, you're saying that my sister acts like a slut? And Sarper says, I mean, bitch.
Yep.
Shreya goes, that's like fucked up. So again, what the fuck is this conversation? Like, very confusing. I mean, as we said the first time this flashback came up, yeah, you can't call your partner, or really any woman if you're a man, in my opinion, but you can't be calling your partner a slut or a bitch.
Or a bitch, yeah.
But what is the context? It's like so confusing, but whatever. So I guess this is supposed to just tell us that Shreya doesn't really like Sarper because she thinks Sarper is offensive. So, okay. I mean, I'm not going to say she's wrong. This looked like an offensive situation, but I just didn't understand why exactly, but sure. So in an interview, Sarper says that he admits it. He was an asshole at that time, but he has changed since then. So we cut to another flashback, this time a new one. So Shekinah, Shreya, and Sophie are in the car together. Sophie says, quote, some stuff I heard about him upstairs were pretty weird. The whole alpha stuff is just so like, I didn't know that before, and now I have a different opinion on him.
What is happening? What's upstairs? Who said what?
I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate because it could truly mean anything. Like, again, like, okay, but this being like the whole alpha male thing coming up that has come up a couple times this season, but in a way that we were like, okay, what's this? So again, I really feel like this came up in a previous iteration of the show that they were on, his alpha male stuff. But I'm curious, what does that mean? Like, was he like watching Andrew Tate videos? Was he like, you also, can't leave the house, I'm an alpha man?
Like a producer feedback, this is the main show. The other shows are extra. The main show should be something you can watch as a standalone product.
Agreed.
Obviously, I'm not going to watch. There are like, what, 20 spinoffs? Obviously, I'm not going to watch all of those.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for our mental health.
I think it's so odd to like have the expectation that you've watched a prequel. And to the point where you're like, what are we referencing here? I don't know. Producers, take note. I know you're listening.
We're cutting like from this into that, but now we cut back to Sarper's interview, and he says he wishes that Sophie didn't know about how he was in the past, but it is how it is. So he feels like he's starting at a -1 with her, which does suck. I think like he's expressing that he doesn't want that to be the case. Like he regrets this. So that's good at least. Not me giving like so many chances for Sarper, and like Greg, I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Why? Anyway.
We'll reflect on this later, but for now, we're not going to change the way we are.
We both got to go to the same like therapy intensive because we have the same issue and I don't know what it is.
Sarper lover syndrome.
I feel like with Sarper, it's kind of that thing when you spend too much time with cats and you get like toxoplasmosis and it like infects you and it makes you like genuinely love them more on like an irrational level. And I think that I have a similar thing going on with Sarper where I'm like, you silly goose.
Sarperplasmosis. We both have it.
It really feels like a sickness. It's not logical. Anyway, I think we love a diva. So we're just like Shawn. Too many thoughts. Okay, so back in the car with Shekinah and Sarper, she tells Sarper that she's afraid Sophie will refuse to meet him, which is stressful because they only have 90 days. Yeah, I don't know. I think like there was a way for her to meet the guy that you were dating for multiple years before you guys are engaged and literally about to get married. This is truly a situation that you did set up, Shekinah. I hate to say it.
I also feel strange about it.
It's so funny how she's phrasing it as like, this sucks that we're in this situation that was so unavoidable. What?
I know. I agree.
So they get out of the car at the rental home and Sarper gets all the luggage. He says, bad boy turned into bellboy. Just amazing.
So funny all the time.
And so Sarper stays at this rental house while Shekinah goes to meet her daughter. And so now we cut to Shekinah and Sophie meeting up. They go to get their nails done. And Shekinah tells her that Sarper is here now. And Sophie takes this like really well. She doesn't seem surprised at all, which is interesting. And as a side note, we cut now to Sarper exploring the area on his own. And he has such a wonderful Northern California experience, which is going to the beach and seeing sea lions on the beach. And he says that this is the first time he's seeing them in real life. And he looks so excited. He's genuinely laughing.
Gleeful.
Yes.
He loves animals. It's so cute.
He does love animals. That's true. I didn't think about that. But yeah, the dogs, Ribeye the cow, and now these sea lions. He loves animals.
And I also just want to specifically say that he sees 2 of the sea lions and says, they're just like us. Me and Shekinah. mating dance. And I'm cracking up because it's such like a typical female thing, I think, to go, oh, they're just like the two of us. And I was like, oh. And then he goes, mating dance. And I was like, oh, well, okay.
That's so true. They're about to fuck. But again, when he does it, it's funny and charming and silly. If Mark did that, I'd be like, you're an adult. Grow
Jail.
Anyway, but yeah, that was just so cute. Like, as both of us being from NorCal, that truly is magical. It's amazing. So back with Shekinah and Sophie, Shekinah tells her that the most important part of Sarper being here is figuring out if Sophie and him get along. Again, like actions versus words, I don't know. I'm not super sure if I actually believe this, given that...
Well, even some of the language later I thought was very interesting. I don't mean to skip ahead too much, but basically Shekinah keeps saying to Sophie, like, your approval means everything, blah, blah, blah. And so Sophie has the very fair question of, well, like, if I don't like him, what would that mean? And Shekinah's like, well, if something happened that is impactful enough that it would change my perception. Like, she had this kind of like distancing language. It was like, well, then I wouldn't marry him. And I'm like, okay, so obviously that's not going to happen because you've been with this man for how many years? You haven't tried to integrate him into your daughter's life before. I can't imagine what could possibly happen. What, he like beats her up in front of you? Like, right. I can't imagine what would happen that would be the case. I just thought it was interesting that her language wasn't more like, oh, well, of course, if you don't like him, we won't get married. It was like a little bit more...
caveat.
Distanced, or yeah.
To get out of it preemptively. That I don't even feel like was conscious, but I think that what you're saying is accurate, that kind of is what she meant.
I think it spoke to where she's at, that like it would have to be a crazy situation for her to break up with him. But she thinks she's coming from a place of like, I value my daughter's opinion.
Truly actions versus words.
It was odd.
Also, as a note, Sophie does say that she's been reluctant to meet Sarper. So I suppose that this does explain like why they haven't met. I guess Shekinah has been letting Sophie lead this, which actually like that feels appropriate.
I do like that actually. Yeah.
I don't think that like she should be forcing her daughter to meet this guy, when also Sophie does mention later that in the past she's been too involved in Shekinah's relationships. I think there's been some emotional, I don't know if it's technically enmeshment, but I'll call it that. I think there's been some emotional enmeshment when it comes to her mom's romantic relationships that's not appropriate for the child to be developmentally. This is something that your friend should be helping you through, your sister, not your daughter.
Agree.
Good for Sophie for having those boundaries, honestly, and good for Shekinah for respecting them. And as a note, Sophie says she thinks it's kind of strange that they're engaged and she hasn't met him, though. So I wonder if Sophie has been saying, oh, you know, I don't want to meet him yet. I don't want to meet him yet because of something she's hearing. But I wonder if it would have been actually appropriate for Shekinah when it got more serious for her to say, I want to respect your boundaries, but I don't want to get engaged without you having met him. You know, I think that there's some stuff like that could have happened that didn't, that actually Sophie is saying is uncomfortable for her at this point.
I think it was like also maybe from one extreme to the next, like way too involved, and then like not even ever having met the guy years in is also a bit weird. So
true. So I feel for her. Sophie doesn't come across as super upset in this moment, but she's just kind of stating a matter of fact. So Sophie does tell Shekinah that she's excited to meet Sarper, but things probably won't be perfect right off the bat. And I don't know, this little teenager is coming across as quite mature, I have to say.
Yeah, I agree.
I was impressed with her. Sophie, you're a cool girl. And then we just close out this segment with Shekinah saying she would definitely choose her daughter over love. In the past, she prioritized relationships too much, which she regrets, and she needs Sophie's approval to get married. So I am interested to see if there is a conflict between Sophie and Sarper, which honestly I'm doubting there will be. There just is weirdly so little actual drama with these two so far. If there is drama, it would surprise me. And also Sophie comes across as a very calm person, so I have a hard time seeing that really blowing up, even if she doesn't like him. I don't think it will be dramatic. But, you know, if it does, I would be interested to see if what Shekinah is saying here is actually true.
Agree. Lock the fuck in, because the throuple is up next and they were fucking crazy this episode.
Finally, they were giving us some content.
So this episode started, first of all, okay, I understand they're on vacation and like they want to like have activities, but I'm cracked up by the fact that like every episode they're doing some stupid activity with like some external person involved.
I know.
So they get picked up by this like old, seemingly American man in a vintage Ford Edsel for a private winery tour. Not even the most important detail, but I just have to say, like, I hate this kind of shit. Like, I don't know what it is about, like, we're going in a vintage car to the winery. Okay.
Like, take me in a golf cart. I don't
care. I know. And it like didn't have anything to do with the winery either. And they're all like, look at this old car. I'm like, okay.
Cool.
I don't care.
I agree.
Amani says that she feels like they're in a good place after setting up their throuple rules. But at the same time, after the car ride where Ani said that she was not forthcoming with her family about the relationship, that's still on her mind. And then it like cuts to the car and like the weird driver is like to Ani, he says, so you're Mexican and you're gonna show up with your boyfriend and his wife? Your mother's gonna have the rosary out. Like, oh my God, Mija, no.
That was so good.
Cracked me up, but also Ani looked so relieved. She was like, see, he understands.
I know.
And Amani looked pissed. And then they get to the winery where they're insisting on like different forms of three-way hand-holding. And it just feels like you don't need to be doing that all the time. Like first it's like holding hands in a chain. Then they're almost having all their hands in the middle.
Ew,
like they're about to do a little, like, you know, team cheer. And it was just odd. And there was a very interesting small moment at the winery where Ani and Amani reach for the same wine glass. Power struggle, Amani wins.
Oh.
Metaphor. And then like a moment later, there's like all these vases of flowers that are like the decor at the winery. And Amani just like grabs flowers out of there and like gives them to Ani like very performatively.
But also in a way that was so fascinating because a tour guide is taking them around and she goes and starts to take stuff out of not her property, like just taking the flower out. And the tour guide goes, oh, as she starts to do
He's
it.
like trying to be polite. He's like, oh, you have good taste because it's like, you know, their stuff.
And then also, I'm sorry, I can't let go of this flower thing because she starts to pull it out and then like more than what she intended to starts to come out, which is kind of like she has to like kind of struggle to grab it. And the stems are like literally 2 feet long. These flowers are ginormous. And then she goes over and hands it to Ani, but not a smile, like the tight, thin-lipped grimace of like, here, bitch. And Ani is
weird.
like laughing awkwardly, like, oh, thank you. It really did not feel like a genuine romantic gesture. It felt like a power thing.
It was odd. It was really odd.
I think it's because at that moment, Ani and Matt are like hugging each other, like side hugging on the tour. And then Amani is just like off to the side. And then she goes around and gets the flowers. And it's almost like a statement. I don't know. It's weird.
It's very weird. And like at the same time, Amani is giving an interview to the camera and she basically talks about how she feels Ani has a preference for Matt, and she's listing examples, including the fact that she kissed him first at the Day of the Dead, that the two of them had sex one-on-one, as we've discussed extensively, and that Ani told her family about Matt, not Amani.
Which, when she laid all that out, I was like, okay, I guess I see that.
It is true, but then on the other hand, I kind of had the feeling as well of like, once you're in a mindset where you're like, tallying things and making a list, like you're not really reliable anymore because you're like, you know, it's like, oh, she kissed him first. I'm like, I bet there was a time where she kissed you first and you aren't listing that either. You know what I mean? Like certainly we've seen a pattern from what's being shown on the show. It does seem like Ani has a preference for Matt. But that being said, it didn't feel like she was from a place of like really trying to put the pieces together. She was more like furthermore, like it was like more grievances.
Yeah, she has like a list in her notes app going.
Yes. And then like they're at the winery sitting at this point at a table. And again, Amani just looks so pissed off, like furious, fuming.
Her vibe is so rancid this whole.
So bad. There was no way she was coming out of this having anything less than a dreadful time.
Yes.
She didn't want to enjoy herself.
Like she's me when I was like 6 years old on a family vacation, hangry, and we're like at the museum. And I'm just like, on the verge of throwing a temper tantrum, and everyone is just kind of trying to ignore it because they know it's about to explode.
Yes. And so Ani sees this because anybody can see this. And she asks what Amani's thinking about. And she says, oh, you were so quiet in the car also. Mm-hmm. And Amani says, well, the last time we were in the car was not quiet. There was too much information thrown at me, which is a reference to like 3 episodes ago or whatever, where it was revealed that Ani has not really told her parents about the nature of their relationship. I will say Ani had said that she had tried to tell her family and that their understanding was that Matt was the boyfriend and Amani was just a friend. I'm still lacking a bit of clarity on like what exactly was said in that conversation, but the end result is that they don't know about Amani, and this is what Amani is referencing. And then Amani in this moment asks Ani again about this. She says, if the issue was them being poly, why did you choose to present Matt as the boyfriend? Why couldn't I have been presented as the girlfriend?
Like, what would the difference be?
It's interesting because it just shows how selfish she is in this moment. She's not thinking about the relationship as a unit, and like, I'm sad that the unit wasn't represented well. It's like, well, if you had to pick one of us, why wasn't it me?
Exactly.
The issue is that there's a lack of understanding in general. And again, I think Ani just tried to point out that like, she did try to tell her family. They just like don't have the context to understand.
They're a conservative religious family in Mexico. I know in the past, Ani has said, oh, you know, like they would be fine with me having just a boyfriend or just a girlfriend, but it's like the 3-person nature of it that they don't understand. And I don't want to say that Ani doesn't know her family, but I will just say, Amani, can you not understand why it would be easier for her family to accept that she has a boyfriend than a girlfriend if they're very conservative?
If they're super Catholic. Yeah, I agree with that.
In general, I do think it just shows that Amani is not the right person to be in a relationship with Ani to any capacity, because Amani is getting so triggered by Ani's family and then maybe by extension also friends not accepting her as being like a part of the relationship or whatever. And if that's the case, Amani, why are you in a relationship with someone from a very conservative culture? That's just not the right partner for you.
Also, I'm like, we're not accepting it, and we're from liberal Northern California. Like,
literally.
Anyway, Matt then asks Ani if she'll clarify this with her family before they go meet them next week. And Ani's, okay, I'm not trying to make fun of Ani's English at all, but it's funny because her vocabulary in conflict settings is like 5 words that she just like cycles through.
Yeah.
So he goes, but you'll tell your family like about the situation. You'll clarify before we go, right? And she goes, no, honey.
Yes. When I first heard that, I was like, oh, why is she being kind of sassy? Like, no, honey. But then I realized, I was thinking back, and she often calls Amani and Matt honey. That's a really intimate word, I think. I would almost say that baby or sweetie is like better for the level of relationship they have. But again, this is not her native language, so, and they don't seem to have a problem with it. But I don't think that she meant it in the sense of like, no, honey, that's not how it's going to go. I think she meant it like, no, sweetheart.
I agree. But it's funny because she cycles through like honey, baby, no. Like, it's just a few words she uses over and over again. And it's kind of funny because like, I know she's doing the best of like, and it's so tough to have like fights in your second language. Like, I'm not criticizing her, but it's funny because it makes her sound disingenuous when like they're giving these like super long paragraphs and she's just like, no, honey.
Right,
I know she doesn't mean to. Yeah.
I know.
It creates just another layer of complexity. Then in that moment, Amani in this dramatic whisper says, I can't do this.
She's so dramatic. It really was pissing me off. She reminds me of like, I don't know, I guess like some kids in like elementary school or middle school who are just like sitting in the corner having a meltdown and you're like, why? No one is doing anything to you.
I know. And then Ani at this point starts crying because she feels guilty, but also because she needs time and she's expressed she needs time and she doesn't want to feel rushed. And then Amani asks if Ani is telling people she's in a relationship at all. And Ani takes a very long time to respond and ultimately says no. And I will speak on my opinion on Ani's behavior in a little bit once we get through more. But I will say at this point already, I'm a little like, okay, Ani, why are we in this relationship? Like, I understand that you don't feel comfortable telling people about it, but I'm also like, well, at a certain point, you're going to have to. And like, you're choosing to be in a relationship. And if you're choosing to be part of something that you feel like you can't talk about, I don't know. I find that a little bit like at a certain point, I don't view her as like purely a victim here. I'm also kind of like, what's your role in like perpetuating this dynamic, you know?
I totally hear that. One thing though, while we're talking about this that's coming to mind for me is we literally saw her talking to her coworker about the relationship though.
Yes, but telling her coworker, I will say like in the context of the show being filmed, like revealing it for the first time.
True.
I haven't had any criticisms of Ani up till this episode. And in this episode, there are a few things where I was like, okay, Ani, I think you could also handle that differently. But at this point, in the moment, Amani storms out of the little room where they're eating charcuterie. She leaps up, and then on her way out, she's like screaming, and she yells, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife.
That was disgusting.
And it just goes to show, like, they don't have fundamental respect for Ani, and, like, the fact that she's a stripper, like, they can't overlook that in terms of, like, their perception of her as a person.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that, like, it's something that needs to be overlooked. I just feel like their context with her, it's like they met in a strip club, and I feel like they still are mentally in the strip club with her. Like, for that to be your first reaction is, like, you can't turn a hoe into a house. I'm like, I don't think that's what's happening here. Like, I don't think that's relevant here.
No, and also it really reinforces that. I mean, I'll just say what Amani thinks, because Matt isn't really a part of this, so I don't know. I don't know what he thinks.
Matt's brain cells are not firing at this point, or maybe ever.
Matt doesn't really think, period. So I'll just speak to what Amani's part of things. But it really reinforces that Amani sees Ani as like a sex object.
Totally.
More than a person, which we have suspected for a while, but it's genuinely upsetting to see.
And in a context that has actually nothing to do with that. Like, it seems like a cultural difference, or like a difference in like personal comfort level with discussing this topic. It's like not like she said something sexual in this moment that it was just odd.
It felt very random in a way that I felt like, oh, this is a topic that maybe you and Matt talk about frequently, and that's why it's so on the mind when it doesn't even feel relevant to the conversation. Okay, so also important to note, when Amani storms away and is like screaming, Matt is staying with Ani. And Amani is crashing out. She's sobbing, yelling, and she's like, I'm such an idiot. What am I thinking? To a point where you're really kind of like, what is this referencing? Like, I don't understand. Yeah. And Amani has also repeatedly, not in this episode, but in other episodes, talked about this language of like, I've sacrificed so much for this relationship. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really getting that. So I don't really get why she's like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I'm not really following, but that's fine. And then Matt asks Ani if she understands why Amani's upset. And Ani says no. Like, same girl.
Which is just like interesting. Like, and so then Matt decides to go find Amani, and he's so weird. He tells the camera that the two of them have, quote, uncovered a lot of deception because they found out that Amani hadn't told people about them. I'm like,
but you already knew that.
Deception. Well, I guess it was that she hadn't told anyone about them. Like, also they kept going, do your neighbors know? I'm like, do my neighbors know anything about my personal life? No.
Yeah, that is such a funny thing to like measure.
They want her to have like a lawn sign that's like, I'm in a throuple with Matt and Amani. At this point, Ani goes to find them. And again, it's this awkward vibe of like duo within the trio. They're like, hey. And she like, again, forces like this three-way hug. And then Ani says to Amani, I swear I love you, honey, baby. This is what I'm talking about the
same words over and over.
And then Amani says, don't fucking lie to me. All you do is lie.
Again, what? And there was no lie, if anything, that we've heard of. It's just like uncovering, oh, no one knows about it. It's not like she's been like, oh yeah, everyone knows about you. And then that's not true. Then
Ani asks Matt to give them some time without him. Honestly, smart, because Matt has never helped anything.
Get the hell out of here.
And then Amani says to Ani, I want the world to know you're taken. Is that too much to ask for? And Ani says, honey, please. And again, I'm sorry I keep harping on this. It's just like, these conversations are so difficult because like, I know Ani's trying her best and I feel terrible. Like, I'm not mocking her, but it's just like the way of like Amani saying these like crazy convoluted, like accusatory paragraphs. And then Ani's just like, please, no, I love you. Like, it just sets up a difficult dynamic, you know?
I mean, it highlights these people really don't know each other. They don't even speak the same language, not even like literally in the sense that Ani doesn't speak great English, but kind of. I mean, that is part of being able to bond with someone, is being able to communicate with them. And Ani's English is not amazing. She can't communicate, I think, exactly how she feels, which, I mean, both of us can understand the struggle of that. And then
totally.
But of course, just as importantly, Matt and Amani also don't speak Spanish. Like, these people don't have a common language to actually talk genuinely and authentically through their problems. And I think that that's never really been an issue up until now because
they've just been having sex.
They haven't actually been having deep conversations. So I do think it's relevant.
I agree. And then Ani at this point tells the camera that she doesn't like Amani's reaction to the whole situation, and that she feels like Amani doesn't understand her and also wants too many things from her. And Ani basically says she has to protect herself. And I guess the implication here is like she's holding some of this information closer to her chest because she needs to like be in charge of what she tells her community and her family.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. Like, I do understand Amani being upset that like, obviously it would be upsetting if you're in a relationship to learn that like the person hasn't told anybody about you and you thought that they had. Like, that's an awkward misalignment. But I also think it's interesting, like Amani has not even tried to understand what Ani's saying of like, I need more time. I need to like warm up to this and like figure out how I'm going to approach it. Like, there's just not a lot of compromise happening here.
Absolutely. I feel like everything has to be on specifically Amani's terms.
Yes. And then Amani says she needs to sleep this off or like sleep on it. And I'm like, in the communal bed.
Yeah. I thought that too. I'm like, damn, like, y'all just gonna cuddle up after this? We're gonna see all your intertwined feet the next morning? What's the vibe?
I know. But then at this point, Amani also basically says that she loves Ani too much to like let go of this and just be done with her. And then Ani says, it's hard, honey, you don't understand. And like, at this point, I started to get frustrated with Ani. And I don't know if it's fair because I don't know if part of it is like the language, but I was like, at this point, I didn't feel like Ani was trying to communicate. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't find her like grasping for words she wasn't finding. I felt that her tone was just like, you don't get it, period. You don't understand.
I definitely felt similarly.
I think it's probably a reaction to feeling misunderstood for a longer time, but it just felt like, okay, at this point, you're also not being helpful. So like, you might as well stop talking because like,
what are we trying to get out of this interaction?
It just feels like they're both in a way closed-minded.
Definitely not productive.
And I also felt at this point, Ani was starting to also get like a bit annoyed and pissy, and they were both kind of like irritated with the other. And then at this point, Ani just like storms off into the dark night because they're outside at this point. She and Amani are yelling at each other. And then Matt goes, girls, this isn't how you deal with this.
Ew, ew, ew.
Girls.
Ew, I literally forgot that he's here.
I know. And he was a jump scare when he popped back up in the night, in the dark night.
That little sly fox popping up on her. At one point when Matt and Amani are continuing to follow after Ani and continuing to argue, Ani says, if you want, I'm going to go. It's okay. I don't care. Like, she's over it. And in response, really disturbingly, Amani yells back, you go nowhere. I'm not done with you. I didn't tell you I was done with you. I really found this disgusting. Amani is being full-blown controlling. She's acting like Ani is her servant. And then that feeling I was having in the moment is then directly backed up by Ani, who explicitly says,
you are not my owner. And then later she says, I don't work for you.
I'm so glad that Ani is able to recognize that that's the dynamic that Amani was trying to set up, and she immediately called it out because she was totally correct.
But it's interesting as well, the vigor with which Ani said those two sentences. It felt like this is definitely something that's been an issue before.
Good point.
And it's interesting because I hadn't really picked up on it specifically up until this point, but I thought it was very interesting that Ani had this feeling of like their employee or worse.
I mean, this whole time I've been feeling like she's their little toy. She's their object to play with. And the fact that it's not just, which is already disturbing in itself, like this sexual objectification, but that also Amani at the very least, and who knows, maybe Matt, is trying to genuinely control her actions is, I mean, it's a primer for abusive behavior. I don't think that this should be diminished in how serious it can be. So I found this pretty disturbing.
Yeah, that's genuinely very disturbing.
When Ani says, you're not my owner, Amani says, I wish you could see that I fucking love you. If I didn't care about you, I wouldn't be acting this way. That's like a full-on abuser language.
I know, it's really, really not good. I hadn't really seen this side of Amani before. I mean, I think jealousy can be the other side of the coin that like really leads to abuse. So I'm not shocked by this, but I haven't seen the ownership language before, or picked up on it at least. So it's obviously very disturbing.
It hasn't been this mask off.
Yes. And then Ani at this point says to Amani, like, I love you, but I'm scared to go to the US now, which,
yikes.
Good. I mean, I'm glad she recognizes that. I'm not happy that that's what's happening, but I'm glad at least she recognizes there's like a almost danger element there.
Yeah. I mean, low-key from Amani. I'll be afraid of her, genuinely.
Totally. And she says she thinks that because Amani has money that she can give Ani orders.
Whoa.
And again, it's interesting because like this felt like there was really a lot behind this. And I hadn't necessarily seen that before. I totally believe it's been happening. Also, I will say in the first episode when we met the friends on the boat, there was the implication that they were like sending Ani a lot of money.
Oh, I forgot about that.
They said something like, you know, you say she's like a self-sufficient woman, but like you sent her a lot of money. There was something like that. And so it makes me wonder, we haven't picked up back on that, but I wonder if they've been like sending her money with strings attached kind of situation.
Oh, you know what, Sophie, that could explain Amani saying that like they've sacrificed a lot if they're paying.
It could just be financial. You could feel like you're getting scammed. I think that's always the fear, right? Someone from a different country is like taking your money. I mean, in this situation, Ani is clearly not the perpetrator of bad behavior, I'm going to say, but I could see them thinking from their perspective that's what's happening.
But it also enforces this feeling that I think is so wrong, but this feeling in Amani of like, well, I'm owed something, because she clearly views this as transactional because she's been low-key paying. I mean, it's kind of like sex work.
Yeah.
You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. I mean, I think Amani really sees her as like a sex worker that they've been hiring, and she's like, you're not acting how I'm paying you to act.
But then it's like the contrast of them being like, it's not just sexual, maybe it's just like overcompensating. Then useless fucking Matt pops up and goes, I don't think that went very well at all.
Oh, you fucking idiot.
And then he said, oh my fucking God, that's the best thing you can say.
See, Amani kind of ate with that. Like, I really am.
That's how I feel.
I'm really hating Amani, but I don't know if I hate Matt more, but he does simultaneously piss me the hell off. So I did like to see Amani bopping him on the nose with that one.
Their part of the episode ends with like a kind of crazy little situation, which is Amani like follows Ani into the dark.
Amani, leave Ani alone. My God, she's running away from you. Leave her alone.
And Amani's like, where's Matt? I can't find him. And Ani says she doesn't care where Matt is because she loves Amani more.
Like, what is happening?
And then Amani says she doesn't know what's going on in Ani's head or heart, but says the funniest shit about Matt. She says, he comes part of the package. What am I supposed to fucking do? I'm like, that's a crazy way to talk about your husband.
Crazy. And her tone is kind of like whiny. It's not even like she's actually upset at the idea of Matt being out of the picture. She's just like, well, what am I supposed to do?
She's stuck with him. It's like, I don't know, it's so odd.
Yeah. And this is taking me back to, in the very first episode, my theory that
you predicted this.
The two women have more of a relationship, and Loki, this is the way for them to end up together, and Matt's going to be out of the picture. But I had really been thinking that that was totally wrong. And now this is bringing me back to that. So I'm like, what is the dynamic?
You gotta trust your instincts. And then Ani, like, again, explicitly tells Amani she has stronger feelings for her and is staying in the relationship for her. And then
I was flabbergasted.
Me too. And then Amani's like,
she seemed flabbergasted too.
She is. She's like, well, because like her whole anger is hinged on like thinking that they're having this like secret relation without her. And she's like,
wait, what?
I've got to find something new to be pissed about. And then she's like, yeah, I don't know if we should tell Matt. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you should. I don't think that's helpful right now.
I also just kind of felt in this moment like, is Amani or maybe multiple of them super drunk right now? They're just acting so weird. Maybe this was not, but I mean, they were at the winery, so maybe they drank more than we thought, because the like emotional whiplash that was happening of like super irate to like
everything was heightened for sure. And then also the like reveal of like, I love you more than him. It didn't feel like super helpful or relevant in this moment. So it also could have been a bit alcohol driven. Anyway, shit was crazy. This segment had me actually gagged.
I really am hoping that they continued this level of drama and mess going forward, because they've been boring me. But if this continues, I'm really, really looking forward to the next episode.
Me too.
So Stevi and Mahdi are the next couple in the episode. They go to the gym together. In a little interview, Mahdi says that this is the first time he'll experience going to a gym with women there too, because in Iran it's sex segregated, and he's only seen this in movies. So Mahdi walks out of the changing room in the funniest outfit I've ever seen. He is wearing a workout outfit. I think that the pants are like gray sweatpants or something. I just wasn't paying attention to them. The shirt is a tank top. But guys, the straps are basically spaghetti straps with how stretched it is. And the part that comes to his chest is barely covering his nipples. And then it goes all the way basically to his knees.
It's completely Sarper coated. And it's actually genuinely slutty. And then I just want to add that the producers added this creepy as fuck montage of the female gym goers that was like pervert viewpoint, zooming in on all the sports bras and butts. I'm like, who is this for?
And I was also like, do these women know that they were being filmed?
It was very like secret camera vibes. I did not like it.
Mahdi in an interview says that he's uncomfortable working out next to women since he's not used to seeing women in revealing clothes and being next to them while working out. He mentions that he goes to the gym every day in Iran, but it's sex segregated, so he's never had this experience.
Okay, I'm not trying to be insensitive to the genuine culture shock and cultural differences. Mm-hmm. I need Mahdi to shut the fuck up. Every single thing he's seeing, he goes, that's not legal in Iran. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You know, I find something disingenuous about him. I don't know. I find him performative in general. And I will say, like, for example, the fact that he is like actually an English teacher, but then he like has an English teacher in this weird way where I'm like, what's up with that? I feel like he's a little bit like over the top. Every single thing being like, oh my God, you guys do this and that. He's talking about, I've seen it in movies. He knows about a lot of these things. He is very knowledgeable about a lot of these cultural things, but then he comes in and he's like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a bit bitch eating crackers of me, I know. And it's a bit also like producers trying to be like, in Iran, they can't do any of this stuff. It's not that I don't believe in the cultural differences. It's that I think he knew about all of them because I think he's been exposed to a lot of American media. He seems very aware of like American media. He even references things like, I've seen this in the movies. And it's okay to be like, you know what? It's so funny. I expected it, but feeling it is different. But he has this thing of like, people are naked here, where I'm like, you literally said you saw it in the movie. So I'm confused by like the level of shock and awe. But I'm remembering, for example, when they were in New Orleans, Deep Cut, episode 2.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, oh my God, everyone's so naked. But then he later goes, when will they throw the beads? And I'm like, okay, so you know some stuff.
Oh.
So that's it. It's not that I don't believe the culture difference is shocking. I'm 100% sure it's shocking. I just feel like this is a guy who like really wanted to come to America and was like, it's like low-key like an America file.
America boo.
And like knew a lot about the culture. And I don't know, that I think is the reason why, like for example, going, oh my God, the gym is so immodest. And then dressing like a huge slut at the gym. Where I'm like, okay, so it doesn't feel consistent.
Actually, Stevie was way more modestly dressed than he was. He basically had nipple out. I can't get over that. Even in my notes, I said, he fits in perfectly, though. This is such an American workout outfit.
That's what I'm saying.
Now it's Stevie and Mahdi working out together. And while working out, Mahdi asks Stevie if in the scenario that he becomes a personal trainer here, which, side note, interesting that that's like his career path. I think that makes sense. He seems like he's really into fitness.
He's fit. Yeah.
Yeah. He says that in that scenario, if a girl wants to become his client, would Stevie be okay with that? And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he is not asking out of a like, basically, would you be okay if I cheated on you? But in the sense of like, oh, maybe they don't, I'm assuming they don't do that in Iran. So is that like okay to do here? Is that normal? I'm just going to assume that's why he's asking.
But it did come across a bit weird. I also was like, why are you saying that?
So Stevie says that her question would be about how professional he's going to be. She says that women here are more forward than probably they are in Iran. Mahdi asks how he should handle a situation in which a girl flirts with him, for example. And Stevie, she'll never answer. She just keeps asking him another question. She then asks what his inclination would be to do. And he says to say, I'm married. I don't know. Her reaction is so funny. She's like pissed already.
She was bitchy. She's like, that's a good start.
And I'm like, what is this interaction? Why are we fighting? I don't know. It was so weird from both of them. I was like, you're both being weird. I just don't understand why they're fighting about something that's literally not happening. So Stevie asks how he would feel if she were in a similar situation. For example, if she paints nude paintings of men.
I don't think that's the same as like being in a crowded gym, like working with a client as a trainer, but whatever. I don't have the whole quote, but I just know he said something like, it's not because of me, it's because of you. Like he made it clear that he wouldn't be comfortable with it, but it's not for his sake. It's because he doesn't 100% trust her, let's say. That's the implication here.
Yeah, which felt crazy and antagonistic. I was like, whoa, okay, so we're actually fighting in this conversation.
At the gym.
Also, he's in the middle of working out. Like, he doesn't stop to have this intense conversation. They just continue. Whatever. So Stevie asks what he means, and he says that when he got to her house, it was so weird to see, quote, too many boobs paintings.
I love too many boobs paintings.
Okay, that was the last funny part of this conversation, I think, because then it got, like, weird. He just immediately then asks her if she's sexually attracted to them.
And, like, next to the weight rack at the gym, like, in public.
And he's actively doing, like, a set.
So he says, are you sexually attracted to boobs? She says, I've never been asked that question before. That's weird. And then Mahdi says, you don't want to answer? She says, no, that's weird. And then it cuts, and then she says, I'm attracted to you. But I thought it was just interesting to, like, multiple times being like, so you're not going to answer? And she's like, no.
An interesting energy from Mahdi, like, we'll get into it, but we got to an interview and Stevie says that she thinks it's insane that Mahdi is asking her if she's bi, so she shouldn't have to answer that. And then back in the moment, we cut to Stevie and she says, you sound like my dad, and explains the thing that we commented on in episode 1 of this podcast about how when Stevie was telling Perry about Mahdi, she was using such weird language, saying, I met this person and me and this person, blah, 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 that her dad, Perry, asked if it's a woman. Like, is that the big reveal? And in that moment, she was like, what? Which we just took to be like, I don't know, just like a weird, awkward interaction. But she continues in this moment saying, you know, you sound just like my dad. And she says, you guys are weird. And Mahdi, while continuing to lift weights and not looking at her head on, it just seems like such a weird way to have this kind of intense conversation. He says, maybe he has seen something. And Stevie says that he was just being sarcastic. Mahdi asks, are you sure he hasn't seen anything? Again, like going in on not letting this go. And Stevie says, yeah, I'm sure. And he says, that was the wrong answer because she's being so vague. I just have to say, the energy from Stevie in this moment, and truly, like, I'm not saying I'm 100% right. Sexuality is very complicated and can be a very sensitive subject. And I think, like, it's subjective. I don't, at the end of the day, care what someone's sexuality is. But I do have to say, for the sake of commentary, Stevie's energy in this was, you're in the closet and someone is actively confronting you and you're not ready to come out. It was a bit,
the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah. Her whole thing of being like, what? You guys are being weird. What are you talking about?
I will say, this brought up something else for me, which is, has Perry been to her house and seen all of the boobs paintings?
I mean, he must. They're everywhere. But yeah, that's
also
true.
Weird, right?
Like in the moment when she was telling him in episode 1, we just thought it's like because she was the weird phrasing she was using.
But now I'm wondering if it's because he went to her house and there's nothing but boobs on the walls.
And again, those paintings are all very sexual. I mean, I do get the vibe that Stevie is attracted to women.
Which is fine, not. And we love that for her. Yeah, if that's the case, for the record.
So like, it doesn't matter. But I do get that vibe from her, especially with her being super defensive. Because if she just wasn't bisexual, you'd just be like, oh, no, I'm not. That's just my art.
Just my job. It's just my job. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even you make like a joke like, oh, I mean, my house is covered in boobs.
Yeah.
I kind of felt for her because she looked kind of scared, which I didn't like to see.
I agree. But the vibe was odd from both of them here. And then like she ends the conversation too by saying, I'm not going to give you the answer that I think you're wanting. So we should just end the conversation. I was like, girl, what does that mean?
I could not think of anything that could mean other than, yes, I am, but I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, genuinely, it's either, yes, I am bi, but I'm not ready to tell you that, so we should just stop talking. Or it's that she's not bi, but she thinks that he won't accept that answer.
Either way, it's odd. Like, just the refusal to engage with the question. And, like, I agree. It's weird to be, like, interrogated about your sexuality just, like, randomly at the gym. Like, I also wouldn't like that. But I also do think, like, he's coming from a place of, like, I came into your house and it's nothing but boobs on the wall. And, like, it makes me wonder. And, like, her reaction's odd. So I was, like, a little bit like, okay, Stevie, you're doing too much. But then Mahdi says some shit about, like, well, what if we get married and it's not enough for her because she's bi? And I'm like, okay, see, like, you're pissing me off.
Yeah, like, well, what if she wants to experience things that, like, she can't with me, like, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, sexually, unless you're Sarper, you can't experience everything before you get married. I think, obviously, something like sexuality, I think it's not an unfair reason to not get married to someone if you're like, oh, I'm bisexual and I just know that in myself, like, I have to experience having sex with the person, someone who's of a gender different from the person who I'm about to marry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fair reason to not want to get married to someone, sure. But I don't think that that's the case for every person in that situation.
I also think it's just not fair to, like, have that thought of, like, well, they're going to want more. Because the truth is, like, even if you're straight, maybe you're into guys who are, like, blonde and brown haired. I don't know, right? And, like, just because you're with a blonde guy doesn't mean you're going to, like, leave him for a brown-haired guy. Like,
or, like, you have a kink that your partner isn't into, and it's like, you just go, oh, well, that's too bad, but I love you more than I want to do that kink.
The expectation that your partner is the only person on earth you find attractive isn't realistic, no matter what your sexuality is.
Exactly.
I mean, the only issue is, like, in a different couple, where maybe they're actually not attracted to your gender.
Yeah.
But
right.
If they're attracted to you among other people,
there's no problem.
The key part is the you.
Yeah. The only thing there is just, are they going to be monogamous too? Which, unfortunately, you can't predict no matter what. You're just hoping that they will be.
And it's not linked to sexuality. That's just, yeah, there's people like that in every sexuality. So just this whole conversation, I just found, like, icky and weird. And I was just like...
Me too. No one's acting normal here. Everyone's being weird. So then up next with Stevi and Mahdi, they're back at home. Stevi prepared a little date night with candles, and she's dressed up in a cute little dress, has her hair done and everything. Mahdi comes out, to see this and looks really excited. In an interview of the couple, Mahdi says that in Iran, he's never seen his parents hug or kiss. So this date night idea is a new thing for him. That's crazy.
Like, this is what I'm saying. You've never seen your parents hug?
Dude, they might not like each other, though.
Okay, but then that's just their family. I mean,
right.
This is just what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, but him saying, what's date night? Like, you've consumed any American media and you don't know what date night is. That's what I'm saying with my conspiracy theory about him.
You keep the conspiracy going. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt so that just in case you're wrong, we can like cover all bases.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So the date night is a little painting night, which at first I thought was going to be like, oh, a cute paint and sip, like paint each other's faces or like maybe like a vase of flowers or something like that. But Stevie tells him that he needs to get naked right now so that she can paint him. And he's like, what? What? Are you serious? And she's like, I'm kidding. Haha. And they both laugh. I mean,
just for clarity, for people, this was the exact point that my notes said. I said, I'm sick of the constant Iran comparisons. He goes, wine? He goes, we can't have alcohol in Iran. And it was like just the 10th thing in a row where I'm like, Mahdi, okay, just live in the moment for a second. You know what I mean?
I kind of don't know what you mean, but I love how angry this is making you. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would also be like, whoa, this is crazy. But I love that you're not having it.
It was just the conscious, oh my God, we can't work out in Iran. We can't hug in Iran. My parents never hugged before. We can't. I was just like, okay, like, I feel like that's all he ever talks about. I don't know. I know, bitch eating crackers. I get it.
It is also perhaps interesting that that is what the editors are putting in. Like, I wonder if he's saying other stuff too. Like, maybe he's just a noticing king.
Well, I think I even said that before. Like, it's also the producer's fault for like, they're probably like, gosh, this is crazy. I bet you don't have this in Iran. Like, they think everyone watching is stupid. I get that. I want to add one more thing that's coming up for me now, which is that Stevie generally seems shocked by things. Like, he's like, yeah, like in Iran, like you can get like beaten. Like, that's the punishment for drinking alcohol. And she's shocked. And I'm flashing back to that episode a couple episodes ago where she was like, I would move to Iran to be with him. I'm like, girl, no, you wouldn't.
You painting boobs, having a paint and sip night, you would get beaten. So Stevie suggests that instead he put paint on her butt and thighs and she sit on a canvas and that's the painting. Why is she so freaked out? Like, honestly, she's weirding me out and I am not from a conservative culture. What is she doing?
I will say this was like a Pinterest trend a while ago.
I know.
What confuses... No. I hate it. What I want to say is like, lady, you're a painter. You think this is a good use of a canvas to just sit your butt on it? Like, but also it's like, why not have him like paint your face or something as like a fun activity? Like, I mean, like paint a picture of your face. You know what I mean? Like, just putting paint on your ass. Like, how is that? How can you be an artist and think like that's an artistic thing to do? That confuses me.
Maddie immediately is like, no. We're not doing that. What the hell are you talking about? And Stevie
He thinks it's like part of the joke. And she's like,
so dead ass. Yeah, it wasn't different enough. Like, I'm like, Stevie, you can't do the fake out and then do something just as weird. So Stevie asks him what they're going to paint, if not her butt, her boobs. Chill, bro. So Mahdi says, obviously no. But Mahdi says she can paint his guns. So like his arms, which... This is so weird, but whatever. Stevie puts paint on his outer arm and then they press it on the canvas. It looks horrible.
It looks like a weird little shrimp. It looks so bad.
It looks like shit. But Mahdi is actually really enjoying this. Like, they're both like laughing and having a great time. And you know what? As much as I'm laughing at it, would I pay good money to own that piece of art? Yes. For our museum. Absolutely.
Should we go commission Stevie to paint our boobs?
You'll have to guess whose is whose. Pretty easy. So they sit back down on the couch after doing that. Like, just such a change in topic. But he says that the price of applying for the green card is going to double pretty soon. I guess just they go up sometimes unless they get married earlier than the 90-day limit. So basically he's proposing that they get married sooner, like in the next couple weeks. And as a reminder, this is the couple who has spent like 1 week together total, aside from the time they're spending together now. So that seems pretty intense. And Stevie says that as far as rushing into marriage, which is funny because what's the difference between like 30 days and 90, but whatever. She doesn't know how she feels about it. And in an interview, Stevi says that since Mahdi got here, he's been having doubts and questions. So him wanting to push up the wedding date is confusing for her, which I really understand.
Also, I want to add, Stevie is like, for some reason, taking this extremely seriously. Like, she says, like, it's a lot to process. And I'm like, honestly, I'm confused that she's so taken aback or whatever by, like, moving the marriage up by, like, low-key 3 weeks. Like, I don't know.
I think by, like, 2 months. I think he's basically saying we should get, because it's only been 10 days, I think, since he got there.
Oh, it's only been 10 days. Okay.
I do think that that would be, like, 2 months less of getting to know each other.
Okay, that's fair. I will say her reaction is like very negative, which is just interesting. She feels like almost burdened. She's like, oh my God, that's a lot to think about. Like there's no excitement at all, which is just interesting.
Agreed. So basically, Stevie says in the moment that she would only really be okay with rushing the marriage if in this small amount of time that they do have, she feels better about where the relationship is because, quote, I still have a choice too. And Mahdi goes, what do you mean you still have a choice? And she says, well, he's still deciding if they should get married. She's doing the same thing, which is interesting that he doesn't seem to think about that. And she says explicitly in an interview now that it feels like Mahdi is doing a lot of considering if he's ready for it, but she gets the vibe that he doesn't understand that she is doing the same thing, which is just an interesting relationship dynamic. And she also says that in her interview that if Mahdi isn't sure if this is what he wants, then she won't marry him. So, I mean, bare minimum, but good. Mm-hmm. And back in the moment, Stevie tells Mahdi that she's been seeing a lot of changes in him since he's arrived 10 days ago, mind you. Like, how much could change? You're just actually getting to know him better. He's not changing.
You're just meeting him for the first time? I know. Okay.
Literally. Okay. And then she brings up this thing of that she thinks that every time he talks on the phone to his family, it sets him back and makes him homesick and puts a strain on their relationship. And she explains specifically that because, you know, she's working and he's not. So he's kind of just home all day. And she says that she's so excited to see him when she comes home after work. But he often seems very different and sad and just kind of distant, in her opinion, because he's talked with his family on the phone while she was gone. And in an interview, Mahdi says that when he calls his family, his mom starts crying. So it's really hard for him emotionally, which I have a lot of empathy for. That sucks.
Yeah.
And in the moment, he says that he thought he was doing a good job of hiding his feelings. But Stevie says she can always tell. And she suggests that maybe he should just not talk to his family as much. What?
She really lost me there.
Stevie has such a fascinating logic. Because it's always like, okay, I've identified a problem, which I think is, yeah, this sounds pretty accurate that, yeah, like this is putting a strain on the relationship and also just him adjusting to the US.
And like, he's not thriving. I think that's the hard part is you come home from work and your partner looks sad. I mean, I get that.
But where she loses us is the conclusion she comes to where she's like, and that means you just shouldn't talk to your family anymore. It's like, what?
It's again this thing of like choosing partner or family. And she says she thinks the daily phone calls are keeping him in the mindset that he lives there in Iran, but he lives here. What?
It's like, yeah, I think he knows that. I think he's actually hyper aware of that.
And like, you think he's just supposed to like not contact his family anymore. He's sitting at home all day, nothing to do. He can't call his family and friends back home. He has to like hang out with Perry. I mean, like, I don't understand what she's thinking he should be doing all the time.
Yeah, as far as we see, she hasn't even introduced him to friends. If she has any, I'm like, where are they?
I will say in general, like she has, I feel on multiple occasions, been just a bit weird about like him having like ties back home or like assuming that if he's like sad about something, that means he like hates his whole life here. And like in this way where it just seems like the conclusions she jumps to are a bit extreme.
Agreed. Yeah, like, oh, you had a thought. That means you shouldn't think anymore. Not the right conclusion.
Yes. Also, might I add, she basically in the last couple episodes called him out and was like, you're telling me too much of what you're feeling. So now he's stopped telling her what he's feeling. And she's like, well, I can still sense what you're feeling. So it does feel like, again, it's like, can you control your thoughts and feelings, please?
Yeah. And he's like, no, not really. Anyway, so Mahdi fairly says, you're saying I shouldn't call my family. And Stevie says she didn't mean that, but she thinks that talking to them every day, as you said, is keeping him in the mindset that he still lives there. And I mean, I don't know. I actually do have empathy for both of them in this scenario. I understand why this is uncomfortable for her and stressful. And I also understand why it's emotionally difficult for Mahdi, you know, I mean, any part of this. But yeah, I understand getting off the phone with your family when you really miss them actually can be really upsetting and sad.
It's also just like, it's a situation that sucks. Like, his family is sad. It's his first time away from home. It's really difficult. Like, to expect him to just like be happy and like assimilate with no problems, like it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
And also I've never heard her say, I'm so sorry that it's so hard for you. Is there anything you can think of that we can do to make your life easier here? She's just like, well, this is your life now, and so you need to love it. And like, I find that odd. It's actually, to me, it echoes a little bit of Juan and Jessica, where Jessica, I feel, repeatedly has been like, well, it's not a cruise ship, and so blah, blah. And you're like, okay, but like, you can also acknowledge like, it's a cultural difference for him here. It's like, it's almost like they know their towns are like a little shitty. And so they didn't even want to open it up for feedback because they know there's nothing they can do about it in a way. So they're just like, well, you'll have to just love it. It feels similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we end the segment with Stevi telling Mahdi that she loves him, but if she doesn't know that he's 100% sure, then she won't be able to marry him. Like, okay. How could you be 100% sure? Again, whatever. This couple is funny to me because I feel like they have these little conflicts, but at the end of the day, I do think they're going to get married. I think that they just won't.
So?
I think so. Because I think he wants to be in America.
Okay, for that reason, yes. But when I look at these two, I'm like, they don't strike me as being in a relationship. Like, if I saw the two of them at an event, I would never think they were together. Like,
yeah.
I don't see the connection. I don't see, like, even if it's like mostly like sexual, I don't see like the sparks. It just feels like two random people in a room. I don't understand the basis of this relationship at all.
I would agree with that. I'm not feeling chemistry from them.
On any level.
Not sexual, not really platonic.
And you know, maybe that also is why the constant conversations about Iran's different pisses me off, because it's 80% of what they talk about. Whereas I'm not seeing them like laughing about something, connecting on a topic. It's just like, this is illegal in Iran. That's crazy.
True.
I don't know. I think it's part of it as well, you know?
The most like goofy we ever saw them was like when Mahdi got that weird beard trim and then Stevi had to put makeup on it. That was the silliest they got.
I know. Yeah. So we are still on Bald Head Island. I just do want to flag, like, this shows how freaking slow this show is, that it's 3 full episodes for one family barbecue that probably took 2 hours.
Truly.
Like, it's actually like being recorded and played back like in real time, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's crazy slow. Anyway, but so we pick back up exactly where we left off, which is that post this like weird ambush that Jordan created at the family barbecue about a prenup. Mina left the area where everyone's hanging out, and Mark is still with his family. And he says, like his extended family, aka not Mina. And he says, I feel like we ganged up on her and now she walked off. But he like stays with the family still.
Yeah. What a protector.
And then it cuts to Mina, who is very visibly upset. And she says she feels like the family wants her to sign a contract for their safety. And I think she means like their benefit, the safety of their assets. But her point is pretty much like she doesn't feel like her interests are being considered at all here.
Which I think is spot on.
I think that's true. And then Mark tells the family that they need to get on board. And I thought this was interesting. He said they need to feel like Mark and Mina are together for the right reasons. I'm like, you can't instruct someone to feel something, but okay.
I know.
And then he says, I appreciate the concern, but I don't want to sit here and gang up on her, especially at our first big family barbecue in the USA. First of all, cracking me up as if that's like a milestone, like first big family barbecue in the USA. But again, I'm like, Mark, time is wasting. Like, go be with your wife. Like, why are you still here?
He's really taking his sweet time.
And it's like, this would be appropriate afterwards, like a retrospective, but like in the moment, like get up and problem solve.
Yeah, or hey, get a little bit angry at them maybe. Say, hey guys, what the fuck was that? And then get up and go to your wife.
Not at our first barbecue. Anyway, so finally at this point, Mark has the sense to go check on Mina. And he says in an interview with a camera that this was not the time or place for a prenup conversation. You know what, Mark? I agree with you.
Yeah, that might be the first time we agree with him.
First time for everything. So Mina tells Mark that she's not okay. And she says, I don't like your family. This is one thing, by the way, that's funny about Mina's level of English. She's at that level of speaking a new language where you don't really have like the language to be, I don't know how to explain it, like adding kind of like extra words, and like she's just so direct. She says, I don't like your family.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you might be like, oh, I'm really upset with the way I don't like your family, period. I'm like, you know what? The message came across, but it's just funny. She didn't add any, like, she didn't do a compliment sandwich here.
I will say though, she kind of talks similarly in French in her interviews. I think she's a blunt person.
It's possible. It's very possible. But it just kind of cracked me up that she's just like.
Also, is it the most emotionally mature thing to say in the moment? No. But is it something that I understand? Yeah. I wouldn't like them either.
Totally fair. And she says that she feels ganged up on and that Mark doesn't care, which is like kind of true because Mark doesn't seem to care.
Yeah. I think that Mark cares insofar as he doesn't like Mina being upset or anyone else being upset, but he doesn't really seem to have like genuine empathy for what she's going through.
I agree. And then Mina tells the camera that she was expecting more humane treatment and she didn't feel Mark's support. But that's what I'm saying. She said that in French. It was like a little more nuanced than just, I don't like your family. Sure. But whatever. Maybe that's truly what she meant. And in which case I support her.
Yeah. And it's like a retrospective, like she's calmer, like in the moment she's pissed. Fair enough.
That's true. So Jordan in the like family area, so not where Mark and Mina are, is now trying to get Sherry, Mark's mom, involved. Not the intergenerational triangulation.
Jordan's manipulation tactics are so successful in this family. It's genuinely fascinating to me that no one is seeing it. Yeah, honestly impressive.
So then Sherry goes to Mina, and I actually think Sherry is like the most concerned about Mina of all of them, but also I feel like she's being a bit fake. She's like, Mina, that was just a family being concerned about each other. It wasn't against you.
You know, that actually really pissed me off.
I was like, girl, it was literally against her. Like, they all think she's a gold digger. Like,
it felt gaslighting adjacent. Like, oh, what you perceive as true is not true. And generally, this Sherry lady, we don't know her, but I don't think that she's coming across as a bitch. I don't think that she has bad intentions.
No, but it's fake. A bit fake.
But more than fake to me, it kind of raised my hackles because it felt like language that people use to excuse abuse. And I'm not saying that this is full abuse, but it's adjacent to that. It's like, I feel like on the way to that because it's saying, oh, no, sweetie, I was screaming at you, not because like I want to hurt your feelings, but it's because I care about you so much.
There was no acknowledgement of impact. It was like, oh, that's not what they meant. And it's like, well, you know, the result was Mina's feelings got hurt. So why are we not acknowledging that? And like, also like, it was really poor form of Jordan to bring that up. Like, it's not polite. I mean.
And Sherry, you're apologizing on behalf of other people who haven't even said that that's how they're feeling. So you're misrepresenting it as well.
And so Sherry tells the camera that like a wall is being built in the relationship and she thinks the wall needs to be taken down. Mr. Mark, take down that wall. Anyway.
Well, I mean, how do these people feel about walls in general? Who'd you vote for?
Good question. So then Sherry asks if Mina wants to talk with Jordan. And it's like, well, you know she doesn't, but okay. And Mina, she says in an interview that basically she doesn't see the point of talking to Jordan because Jordan says one thing to her face and another thing behind her back, which is actually kind of true. So then Sherry, grandmother, aka grand triangulator, is now getting Jordan involved. And Mark is like watching Sherry get Jordan from the family area and bring her to Mina, and Mark's like, Nana has a better angle than me. I don't even want to talk anymore. I'm like, Mark, you're the central character in all of this. You can't be removing yourself.
Mark is the biggest fucking loser ever. The fact that he has made, because of his passive nature, he has made his own mother take responsibility for solving a mess that he started. Talk about Joan and Greg 20 years from now. It was crazy.
So true.
It was
so
crazy.
true.
I really was like, wow. So this family's dynamic is really bizarre. It's like the women have to come in and clean up this man's mistake. And then also it's like Jordan having subtly manipulated her own grandmother into being the one to start the conversation between eventually her and Mina directly. I'm like, why didn't just Jordan go do it? It's so weird.
It's actually crazy.
Here. It's really bizarre.
And this is something I thought was interesting. It goes back to Mina and Sherry in their little, exile area. And Sherry tells Mina she doesn't want her to be sad. And I feel like this is how a lot of people in this family and in this show navigate conflict. Is don't be sad. It's like, okay, well, let's deal with the root of the issue.
Yes, I see where Mark gets it.
I will also say in this moment, it became very visually clear that the like secluded part of the woods where Mina had run away to is actually 10 feet from the house.
It's so close.
It's like within earshot of the conversation.
It's crazy. You're right there.
So at this point, Jordan comes over and Sherry is like doing this weird like mediation, but like speaking on their behalfs. So Sherry says that they both said words in the heat of the moment that they didn't mean.
Like, Sherry, you weren't part of it. Why are you speaking for them?
Shut the fuck up. I know.
Yeah, you're not helping.
And then Jordan, she did not come in with conflict resolution energy. You can just tell.
She's such a bitch.
And so she says, I hope you don't actually think I'm a snake. That's hurtful to hear. And it just felt so fake. I was like, Jordan, shut the fuck up.
Like, yeah, and very much like, oh, well, I'm actually the victim here, and that's what we should start with talking about that, because that's the most important part.
But then I was like, Mina, now it's your turn to shut the fuck up, because Mina goes, no, I'm sorry for this. Maybe it's the translate in French. And I'm like, Mina.
That killed me.
We all know it's not the translate in French, but...
So actually, I asked a French friend, and he said that... I said, would calling someone a snake in French be an insult? And he said, I wouldn't say it's a common word to use in that sense. So it could be used as such, but also it's kind of too convoluted to be offended by. So apparently, according to him, it's not like super common, but he definitely wasn't like, oh no, this is a compliment.
I'm sorry, she knows what it means.
If anything, actually what it showed me was maybe it's not a super common insult in French, and the fact that she was saying it in English means she knows it's an insult.
I think so. Especially because the times she used it, it wasn't like she's like, oh, I love your daughter. She's such a snake. It was like, she was like, she said that about me. What a snake. Like, she used it correctly. So hiding behind, it's the translate in French. I was like, okay.
That killed me, Mina. I love that.
Jordan asks for an apology formally. And Mina is like, okay, I'm sorry. It was so like superficial and like obviously not meaningful, but whatever. On both sides. Sherry then asks if Jordan is invited to the wedding, and Mina says, yes, of course, she's the daughter. I'm like, girl, you uninvited her last episode, so...
I feel like Mina is very intimidated by the multi-generational manipulation tactics, so she's just saying whatever to get them off her back.
Totally. Also, like, we see this later. She's just like, at this point, she's just like, I'm saying whatever to get this family, like...
Yeah. I got her, honestly. She was like, yeah,
Same.
sure. Like, just fawning, like, bitch, get away from me.
And so then Sherry says to Mina, she says, so you're sorry you said that about the uninviting? And I'm just like, Sherry, you're not helping right now. Like, I don't know.
We all know, like, an older woman like this, and it's like, they really have the best intentions, but they're actually making it worse.
I know. So then Jordan says she's just trying to protect her dad, and Mina tells the camera that she did not find Jordan's apology to be sincere. Because Jordan, like, didn't really apologize. She was, like, explaining more than apologizing.
Jordan did say, I'm sorry if I upset you or offended you in any way, too. I just want to make sure that my dad's happy and to protect him. That's all. I will say she's saying this. Mina actively has tears running down her face, or, like, very recently dried ones. I'm like, what do you mean you're sorry if you upset her? You upset her so much she was sobbing. So it just really, really shows that Jordan is so disingenuous, because you know what? Even a not great apology would have been, I'm really sorry I upset you.
Also, you could tell she was only doing this because her grandma Sherry was right there, and she was trying to, like, you know, stay on her grandma's good side and be like, look, grandma, I apologized.
Yeah.
It was very fake. And then Mina tells the camera, like, it was not sincere. And also what she's waiting for an apology for is Jordan's comments about, like, saying she shouldn't have any more children. Which, like, I do agree. Like, Jordan does need to be accountable for those comments.
Yeah, I mean, she was so vague, whereas Jordan was earlier like, can I get an apology for you calling me a snake? And then when it came for her to apologize to me, and she's like, sorry if I offended you in general. Like, what a bitch.
So you can tell as a viewer that nothing's really resolved, but it's kind of like a band-aid has been placed over the situation for now.
Totally.
Mark is like, thank God it's all fixed. Now I can have some fun. I'm like, Mark, you're actually so stupid. You're so
fucking idiot.
You're so dumb for thinking this is over. Like,
genuinely, like, he like lacks like intelligence, like IQ points or something. He's really like, it's not clocking to him what's really going on.
You think a months-long fight, maybe years long, I don't know the timeline, has been resolved in like 2 minutes?
After another fight?
So then, kind of a plot twist. Mina and Mark are one-on-one together.
Like going to the ferry to leave the island.
Going to the ferry to leave. The party's over. They're going back to their accommodation. So she tells the camera when she's on the boat that she is really worried about the family pressuring her. And she admits to the camera that she pretty much only agreed to the prenup because of the family's pressure. and that she has no idea what will be in the prenup, and specifically if it will be good for her and her children, which I do think is fair. Like, it's such a one-sided conversation. I do think it's fair for her to have that concern.
And I don't know in France if they have the same kind of thing. So this might be a foreign concept. Like, what exactly is this document? What does it mean? Yeah.
And she definitely seems aware that the family is like using it to their advantage.
She's sharp. I mean, she understands what's going on.
And she says she's worried that she will be the loser in the story. Those are her words. And then to Mark directly, she tells him she doesn't want to sign the prenup, and she only said that to get the family offer back. And Mark is gagged. He's, what? He's like, I thought, what? Like, he cannot believe this. He seriously thought everything was resolved by now.
Dude, it's like she like turned around and took off her mask, and she was the villain with like the knife gonna stab him.
No prenup. Yeah. I know.
Like, he was so shocked. And you know what? It was so iconic of her to go, yeah, you fucking thought this was over. It's not.
And
it
like,
just
I
began.
love that she told him 2 minutes after. She's like, yeah, by the way, none of that was true.
I honestly loved her in this episode. That was so funny to me.
It was villain behavior, but in a really fun way, you know, like
in a way that I think is just deserved.
Justified, for sure.
We've seen her villain origin story. If Mina goes full crazy and even is acting like a total cunt from here on out in a way that feels very mean, I'm on her side.
Just like with Joan, we support you.
We support you.
You can do whatever you want.
And guys, I don't know what the general temperature is about Mina. And again, like, we'll see if she does something truly egregious. But if she does just like become a bitch after this, you guys can't handle complex female characters, and we can.
So true.
I stand with her being a bitch.
We support you.
Next couple is, brace yourselves, everyone, Shawn and Alliya. Again, just general trigger warning for transphobia, and if that is a sensitive topic for you, you are more than welcome to skip. We totally get it. Again, you can refer to our show notes to figure out the exact timestamp to go to for the final couple, which is Juan and Jessica after this. So getting into this couple, we start with an interview with the two of them, and Alliya says, unfortunately for us, Alliya says that she and Shawn had sex last night and it was special.
So why do people have to tell us every time they have sex? I don't really need to know.
The producers clearly have a thing about saying, so did you guys have sex last night? And then they had to tell us. And I will just, production, I'm going to make it very clear. I don't want you to do this anymore.
We don't like it.
I don't like it. I feel that also just in general from the vibe, you can tell. We don't need it to be explicit.
It's gross.
Whatever. Like, I don't care how frequently a couple is having sex. Like, it doesn't, to me, tell me how good their relationship is.
Especially when there are couples who have terrible relationships having sex. I'm like, okay, so it's irrelevant.
So this is gross. There was a weird moment right after this where Alliya leans in to kiss Shawn. He kind of leaves her, like, pursed lipped in the air for a minute.
She has to go 90% of the way to him, and then he's, like, barely doing the 10%.
He's so slow. He, like, turns his head and does a little and is so dead-eyed. I mean, he's so checked out of this relationship. And this is in the interview where they're saying that they fucked the night before and it was so special and great. And then he can barely kiss her the next day. I don't know. It's
like reached his capacity for interacting with her.
It's very strange. So Alliya goes to brush her teeth and is horrified that her toothbrush was left uncovered on the sink all night. And she explains to Shawn that it's dirty to her because of the bacteria in the air that can come from the toilet when flushing, which I actually really do understand that. I always close my toilet when flushing and just when I'm not using it. Yes, thank you. It's so scary when you go to someone's house and you can tell that they don't do that. I mean, science can back up that claim. Particles do go in the air. It is actually gross. It's like not good to have on your toothbrush and just your other stuff. But I mean, again, this is just not really a big deal to me, but she does lose me a little bit because she says she has to buy a whole new toothbrush. Whereas I'm like, can't you just kind of disinfect it?
Also, she loses me when she said she's upset that Shawn has been kissing her with a mouth that has been brushed by a toothbrush that has been contaminated by toilet air.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this becomes the plot of the episode. Alliya's potentially diagnosable germophobic tendencies, which to me, I just really don't find that interesting. And it sets up something that I've been reflecting on with their couple. Well, we've been reflecting on together a lot with this couple, which is the things that the show is choosing to focus on in their relationship feel very strange. And
now that I'm thinking about it, it's in a way, in the words of Game of Roses, a podcast that we love, they're giving her a fool edit in a way.
Yes, they are. They're making her look like a clown.
she's so reasonable in a lot of ways. And like, yeah, the germophobia is a little bit, like we said, like it's probably verging on something diagnosable, but it doesn't make her dumb or weird, or it's just, and I do think the amount that they're focusing on it, it's like ignoring the fact that the main issue in the relationship is that Shawn is like a fucking piece of shit transphobe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know why they're painting her as having any flaws. And I find that really odd.
I think he's potentially also a predator because he's 62. He's going after a person who's now 25, was more like 22 when they met, I think.
You're so right. You're so right.
And then is also just much poorer, has so little life experience.
The power difference is crazy.
The power difference is crazy. And I'm like, really, producers were choosing to focus on the fact that, like, well, number one, that she's transgender, as if that's an interesting, like, controversial plotline. And then the fact that she's a germaphobe, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that those things are moral failings.
It's also crazy punching down where it's like, okay.
At the worst, they're trying to paint her as a weirdo. And I'm not liking that.
Because I don't think she is one.
No, especially for our only transgender character on the season, I'm really not vibing with this framing.
Same.
So they go to a pharmacy together to buy Alliya a toothbrush. And Alliya, when they're there, picks up, you know, they're just looking at other stuff in the pharmacy. They see that there's dog toys, for example, and they talk about, oh, maybe they should get one for the dog.
Something came up for me in this is like, she's like, oh, look, dog toys. And like, keep in mind, she didn't want a dog. And when she agreed to get a dog, she said they can get a small dog. And Shawn like tricked her and got a fucking massive sheepdog.
Yeah, huge dog.
And then Alliya is like saying, oh, look, maybe we can get a toy for the dog. Like, she's coming towards him. She's making a bid. And he's like, no, the dog doesn't need any more toys. Like, everything she tries, he's so negative and mean and rude. And I'm like, it's your dog. She's trying to do something kind for your dog. And you're being negative about it. I really don't get that.
He really doesn't see her as part of his life, I think.
He barely sees her as human. I mean, he's just like so rude and controlling to her all the time. He like doesn't think she's capable of having like a valuable thought. I mean, he's so shitty to her. It pisses me off.
Me too. Absolutely. Then also at the pharmacy, Alliya picks up what turns out to be an at-home HIV test that they sell, which I didn't know that existed. That's super cool.
Me either, but it's great.
And in an interview, Shawn reveals that Alliya does an HIV test once a month. And in the moment, back in the pharmacy, Alliya tells Shawn that she wants to be cautious since they have an open relationship. And, okay.
Seems fine to me. Okay. If they were in a monogamous relationship and she was just having like these weird like OCD ideas that he was cheating on her and therefore she got tested, I think that'd be different. But it's like, no, he's like openly having sex with other people in a way that's like, you know, a community that can be vulnerable to HIV. And like, I don't think it's crazy to want to be tested for it at all. And like, it bothers me that Shawn's acting like he could not get HIV. And then Shawn says some dumb shit. Sometimes her mental ideas can run wild. Yeah, because you're having sex with other people and you might get a disease and give it to her. Is that so wild?
When you know for a fact that at the end of the day, she's just uncomfortable even with you having sex with other people anyway, just because she doesn't want you to. I do think it's a funny thing for him to focus on is like, wow, she's so crazy. She doesn't want to get an STD. And I'm like, yeah.
Sounds normal to me.
You're not convincing me that she's the crazy one in this scenario. She's allowing you to have sex with other people and you're like making fun of her for coping with anxiety that she gets from that because she is a little bit germophobic or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, it's just very heartless, I think.
Also, do you know what else bothers me about this is like, so this is a slight side note, in any relationship, I'm not big on like mocking your partner. Like, I don't think it's funny to like prank your partner and like, I don't know. I think that it's important to like approach your partner with respect, and I just don't think it's funny to like punch down in a weird way on your partner. I don't like that.
Agreed.
And I also find it odd where I'm like, these are all things where it's like, you know what? If the germophobia pisses you off so much that it's all you can think about and it makes you so mad, then break up with her. But like, I really hate this weird thing of like mocking her. It feels so mean to me.
Yes.
And I'm like, then don't be with her, but like, don't just shit on her all day. Like, I don't get that.
Absolutely agree. I can't imagine talking about my husband that way. Like, so mean.
It's so mean.
So Shawn also in an interview says specifically that Alliya's fear of getting an STD is negatively impacting how often they can be intimate because the idea stresses her out so much. And I'm like, okay, there's a pretty easy solution to that.
I'm also like, is being intimate with her your priority? Because you've sort of made it seem like it's not at all your priority.
And even like in the beginning of this episode, when she's saying that they had sex and it was so special, and like he like barely gives her a kiss or says anything, it's Actions versus words. So he then, in the same interview, goes on to say that in a perfect world, they would be monogamous. But, quote, it seems like a catch-22. We open up the relationship, then there's more fear of STDs. But if she transitions fully, then I feel like I'm losing things that I enjoy.
This language is so gross.
So fucking gross. We've expressed, and we'll express again, we hate this phrasing of if she transitions fully. What the hell does that even mean? But it did click for me in this moment where I thought, oh, when Shawn says transition fully, he means doing bottom surgery.
He's talking about she needs to have a penis for me to love her.
Yes. Which, again, okay. Sounds like this isn't the relationship for you, though.
It's also funny. I mean, this is like a bit nitpicky, but I think it's important. This language of transitions fully. A lot of like people who don't know anything say this, and it's like, it's basically implying that like you'll only be transitioned if you get bottom surgery. And it's like, well, no, the second you come out and create or, you know, like develop a new identity for yourself, like you're like there is obviously like a lot of different things you can do to transition, and everybody has a different level of how much they want to do, but you can only socially transition and you're still transitioned fully. Yeah. So it's this idea that like you're only valid once you get this like very intimate surgery that not everybody wants for a million reasons.
Yeah.
I just find that so odd and reductive.
I completely agree. And again, if you want bottom surgery, that's fine. If you don't want it, that's fine. That has nothing to do with your transition status.
It's not like, check, okay, now you're done.
Now you've been doing it. So to be very clear, we disagree with Shawn's phrasing of this. But the one thing is, it did click in my mind that, oh, that's what he means when he's saying that.
For me too. In this episode, I was like, okay, I kind of suspected this is a little bit where we're going, but like now it's been explicitly made clear.
And also, he's so unwilling to speak explicitly about what he means when it comes to the transition.
Well, it's also interesting because his language of like transition fully, it also kind of implies that like he doesn't think she's transitioned as long as she has a penis.
Yes.
And again, this is not how I feel, but it feels like he's going, well, thank God you're still a man. Like exactly. That's kind of his vibe, which is like so bizarre and terrible.
Yeah. Bizarre and terrible. So Shawn and Alliya now go to a restaurant for lunch together, and Shawn brings up Alliya's germophobia and asks her how many times she's tested herself for HIV in the past year. She estimates that in a year, she's tested 7 months worth of tests.
So 7 times, which I didn't think was that crazy.
And the way he reacts, I thought, that's why I was like, oh, does she mean like 7 times 30? Because the way he reacts was like, whoa. I'm like, he's like, oh my God, like that's so many times. And Alliya says that's the only thing that she's found that she can do that will relieve her of the worry of having HIV. So that's why she does it, which, yeah, like, guys, even if she has something diagnosable and this is a symptom of it, it's just not the worst thing you could be doing to relieve yourself of stress.
And also, this is what I said, like, why is he dying on this hill if it makes his fiance feel better? Like, yeah. I don't understand, like, it's not like it comes at some sort of terrible cost to them. It's so odd. And then he's so mean. He goes, well, we were intimate yesterday. Are you going to get tested again? Like, he's always mocking her.
Yeah. He's so disrespectful to her. And also, yeah, maybe because you had sex. That makes sense. Alliya then, though, says that it was her understanding that when she arrived in the U.S., they would become monogamous. And Shawn says that... okay.
Big oof incoming.
Big oof incoming. Shawn says that as long as they're having sex, they can be monogamous, no problem. And I just thought, wow, what a way to pressure her into being sexual always, regardless of if she wants to. Because I'd feel like if I ever just didn't feel like having sex, my partner would cheat on me and it would be my fault.
Yes.
Super fucking manipulative. To me, Shawn actually is the worst man on this season.
I think he might be too, because he's really cruel and like he knows better and he still chooses to be cruel, and I have no sympathy for that.
Yeah. I feel every time that he's talking to her that he's kind of bullying her and he knows that he shouldn't be.
I feel like he has like a weird like kink for like demeaning her. Like I can't explain it beyond that. Like I don't get it.
It's very bizarre behavior. So in an interview, Alliya says that this makes her have questions like if he's still attracted to her, because since the beginning of the relationship, Shawn's desires were always more for men. And Alliya asked him directly back in the moment at the restaurant if he would still be attracted to her if she gets feminizing surgeries. Shawn says to Alliya that Alliya told him that she was planning to do some cosmetic surgeries to feel more feminine, but that she wouldn't change her genitalia. He didn't say this directly, but I think that's what he's saying. But then he says that it seems like that's different now. Alliya says that she understands his perspective and fears, but she can't live with this limit being put on her. Like, again, thank you, Alliya. I'm really proud of you for advocating for yourself, even though I'm sure this was fucking hard in the moment. And Shawn says that he doesn't want either of them to feel like they have to lose something for the relationship to work. Yeah.
Break up.
Yes. You're right.
You're so close to the point.
And then he just goes around it. So Alliya basically says that she loves him and wants to stay together. And in this moment, it's like, I'm buying their emotions, but I'm not buying that Shawn genuinely respects Alliya at the end of the day.
No. And I'm also like, Alliya, do you have Stockholm Syndrome? Like, what's happening here?
Well, think about it, though. I mean, to have empathy, she would be losing a lot to break up. I mean, she loves him. She wants to marry him. She said it's a dream for her. I think she really wants to be in the U.S. And they put in a lot of time and effort into it. And she would be losing stuff.
I get the logistical situation. I really do. And if she's like, I fucking hate him, but I want to be in the U.S., I'd be like, I respect you. The optimism she has for this relationship, the endless amount of chances she's giving him, I'm like, girl. And I'm not even like victim blaming her. I'm just like, I wish she could. Like, she'll always say things of like, that made me so sad. He said that. And I'm like, yes. And what are we going to do about it? You know, like, I hate that she's just like, I hate that she's stuck with this shitty guy. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I agree.
So Shawn says, again, I hate the language, that if he tells Alliya if she gets the full gender reassignment surgery.
Already. Such old school language.
Anyway, he's just always talking about how that would be so foreign to him. He doesn't know what he would do. And it's like, I know what you would do. You would break up with her. So just do that anyway. And then like Alliya at this point also was like looking for reassurance from him. She's like, if I got surgery, like what would happen? And he says basically that he can't say for sure that it would be fine.
Why did you bring her here?
And then this pissed me off so bad. He tells the camera, quote, I fell for a man. We know. Okay.
You made that
quote,
clear.
I fell for a man, and I don't know how I'm going to feel once every nuance of that person that I fell in love with has been erased. What the fuck? Also, every nuance? You mean their penis?
Yeah. I think that he understands, like, also just like emotionally, like her fully being a woman, but I don't understand why it hasn't clicked for him that that's already happened. She is.
But also just this language of like, the person I love is gone. And I'm like,
she's right there.
She's literally sitting at the table with you. Just say it's a deal breaker and move on.
Yeah.
But don't act like the person I love has been wiped off the earth and blah, blah. It's like, that's literally not what happened.
That's so insulting.
I know. Hate.
Boo. Boo, Shawn.
Tomato.
Boo, 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 boo.
You know what, Shawn? Do not like our story.
Yeah, get the fuck off our page.
If you're thinking about it, don't.
That's the first block we're going to get is from Shawn, now that I'm thinking about it.
Good.
Bye. We finished the episode with Juan and Jessica, but in a way that was not satisfactory to me as a stan because we didn't even get a lick of Juan.
I feel like every episode recently, it's like 2 seconds of them.
They're definitely going to get married because there's basically no drama.
I know.
Which is weird because I feel like there's stuff that they could be pumping up, like the no door. Where'd that go?
Let's revisit.
Lest we forget. I can't get over that. So many of these couples, the producers are like, yeah, there's no door. But this friend is really upset. And you're like, okay, let's focus on the here and the now. Let's put up a curtain, something. Anyway, we just want this to be like a home decorating show, actually. We want to have like the Property Brothers come in. Because every time we're like, the home decor, like we need to change this, and this. We need to put a door on this.
As we should.
So we start this episode. Jessica is at a bar.
Might I add, it looks like just someone's house. It looks like someone's basement.
I think it was the same bar from the first episode. I looked it up. I think it's called the Mint Bar in Torrington, Wyoming.
Well, it looks like shit. Sorry to say.
So at this bar specifically, Megan is going to meet up with her so that they can talk about the cheating and
the lying about the cheating.
And all of that.
So in an interview with the camera, Jessica says in a very bitchy tone, referring to Megan, she says, I'm her best friend, like her only friend, really.
Ooh.
And then she continues. She says, so when Juan cheated on me, it felt like he cheated on her in a sense. And that I didn't tell her probably felt like I cheated on her too. It was just weird.
Enmeshment is going crazy in this friendship.
It was odd. The level of attachment is odd.
Yeah, this friendship seems kind of like bizarre from both sides. And also the fact that it's, if we're believing Jessica, that Megan has no other friends, it does give us insight into the level of emotion Megan was showing, because she seems overly invested in
She's
in
all
Jessica.
in on Jessica. Yeah. I actually think it's crazy in a small town to only have one friend, because like everyone knows everyone. So it's like everyone knows you and doesn't want to be your friend? Question mark?
I agree. Also, doesn't she have a husband? Herb or whatever?
Herb?
I think that was
I'm completely unaware of Herb.
someone's husband was named Herb. I think it was Megan.
I'm hearing about Herb for the first time right now. So this is...
Anyway, so Megan arrives and Jessica starts the conversation with her. And Megan explains that it hurt her feeling like both Juan and Jessica lied to her about the cheating, which is what we had surmised. Is, yeah, of course, it's upsetting to hear that your friend got cheated on. But more than that, it feels that Megan was so upset about being lied to, which we felt was pretty fair.
I also want to add, it wasn't that they just didn't tell her. It was that Megan point blank asked multiple times over the course of a year. And every time they were like, oh, no, nothing like that. Which I actually would make me mad too.
Yeah, like that's fucked up. So I do get Megan on that. And in an interview, Megan says that if she found out the truth a year ago, she probably would have been hurt still, but not as hurt as she is to find out now. And she says that now she's having to work through this twice, because she said on some level she knew that he cheated, but she feels like she has to work through it twice now. And it's, quote, just twice the damage, twice the hurt, and twice the work to work through this and be able to trust Juan again.
I want to also add one other thing Jessica said actually before this in an interview with the camera. She said about Megan, I really just need her to let things go. I also wonder if other things came out, how she would be able to handle them. And I'm like, girl, what other things?
I know. I thought that was very spooky. I'm like, is she saying that because there's something nefarious that went on? Or is she saying it just, I don't know, phrasing it weird?
Jessica's whole line in this was really weird, though.
Yeah. So back in the moment, Jessica says that she didn't tell Megan because she knew Megan would give her opinion and Jessica didn't want to take that on.
What kind of friendship is this?
The dynamic feels very unhealthy. Jessica felt like it was something she could just work through on her own. And I do get this, but it reminds me of what you said previously, that it's unfair for Jessica to come to Megan for emotional support when Jessica found out about the cheating, but not give Megan the resolution of telling her she's deciding to work through it and forgive him. Megan doesn't have to be there for every step of the way, but she does deserve closure. Like,
honestly, she could just say, Megan, I found out he cheated on me. And I want to tell you, like, I don't want your judgment on this. I'm going to stay with him, but I wanted to update you. Like, even that.
yeah.
But the lying is crazy.
Yeah, Jessica, you really bungled this one. And I don't understand why Jessica doesn't seem to feel guilty at all.
Also, she has no, like, gratitude at all for Megan's concern. She's more, like, viewing Megan as annoying. And I'm like, I think it's in a way, I mean, Megan's doing too much. We both know this. But
yeah,
in a way, it's like, that's lovely to have a friend care about you so much. Like, there's no gratitude for the friendship. It's like Jessica's viewing Megan as this, like, annoying extra thing to deal with, which I also find odd.
I think that sometimes there is this dynamic that happens with women friendships where they get too enmeshed into in a way that feels more appropriate for two romantic partners to be. And then one of them gets in a romantic relationship, and instead of having a direct confrontation where they end the friendship or at least draw clear boundaries that lets them have a more healthy dynamic, they get in a relationship with like a man, a partner, and then just kind of slowly edge out the friendship and just replace them with the man. But I don't even think that like the relationship with the man is bad, but it's like instead of directly having confrontation about the unhealthy dynamic, they just kind of push them out because, oh, well, I have a family now, I have a husband, I have kids.
Well, this is actually also linked to another thing I've thought for a while about, like the dynamics of female friendships, which are, and I want to acknowledge, I've not always been good about this, especially as like a teenager. I did not have good conflict resolution skills. But I've always found it interesting that in our society, if like you're in a romantic relationship and something goes wrong, you're expected to like talk about it, or end the relationship or whatever. And in a friendship, it's just not considered appropriate to bring things up, end a friendship that's not working for you, whatever. And I always find that so odd that it's like, I mean, some people overcorrect for their boyfriend's behavior, so not everyone's like this, but in general I feel like there's this thing of like, he did that, like dump his ass, like with friends it's like, well, that's your friend, so you can't say anything. And I've always found that odd because I feel like I wish there was more ability for us to interact with female friends in a way that's like, hey, this upset me, like before the blowout fight. And I feel like this is a friendship that would benefit from that sort of like evaluation and discussion of like, where are we at and why did this happen? Like, it's, I think, a combination, I think, of the two. It's like you have all this tension, you can't talk about it, and then you like replace it with a boyfriend. I don't like that.
So Jessica tells Megan that Megan is going to be her maid of honor, so she doesn't want Megan not liking Juan on the wedding day. Megan asks how she's ever supposed to trust Juan again. And I don't think this is super egregious, but Megan is too focused on her feelings in this situation.
Also, I think too focused on Juan and not Jessica in a way.
Yes.
Because the bigger issue is that her best friend lied to her, but she's like, I can't believe what Juan did to you. And it's like, the singular focus on Juan when Jessica was also part of the issue in the friendship context is odd to me.
I agree. Also for me, like, there's like one or two male partners of friends who I actually consider like a friend of mine as well. But outside of those people, I truly see my female friends' partners as like pets, or like, I don't know, they're just not as if they're not human beings, of course not. But I'm just so not like interested in really like having a close, good relationship with them. I'm just thinking, well, as long as you guys are good and like, I don't know, you're not like being like, if I'm not in this dynamic, I don't care like what you guys do, as long as you're happy in your relationship and I feel like you're both treating each other with respect. But it's so funny then for me to look at someone like Megan who's like, well, how am I supposed to trust your partner? I'm like, I don't know, just trust your friend. That's all you need to do. It just felt weird to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that Megan needs to recognize that right now her friend needs her support, even if it means faking it with how she feels about Juan. But yeah, like if you don't think that your friendship with Jessica is good enough that you can give her that support, I feel like that's what you need to focus on, to your point.
She's also allowed to say this friendship isn't working. This thing, you know, the lying is a deal breaker. Like, it's also fine, but they're doing this weird middle ground thing that I don't think is working.
Agreed. So in the moment, Megan says that she has to process that her best friend and her friend's fiance have been lying to her face for a whole year. So she understands why Jessica kept it from her, but it still hurts. Like, I don't know what she means. I wouldn't understand why she kept it from me. And I feel like this just speaks to their dynamic is weird.
That's what I mean. She's like too forgiving of Jessica when she said the problem isn't just the cheating, it's the 1 year of lying, which that was all Jessica.
Yeah, but she's able to say that in her interview, but not to Jessica directly, I feel like.
Odd.
But again, I don't really care about this friendship. I don't care that they have a weird dynamic. I want to get back to Jessica and Juan.
I think they honestly just shouldn't be friends. Like, Jessica, when she is describing Megan, is honestly being a bitch about it. And Megan is like invested in the wrong ways. So I'm just like, okay, let's just not be friends.
And this was all we got from these people this episode. So yeah, good luck, I guess.
Give us nothing.
That wraps up episode 8 of My Best View. I can't believe it. Like, we have a real catalog now. It's great.
I know. I do hope the producers will pick up the pace because, you know, they're dragging things along. We have 20 episodes to get through, but I'm thrilled to be doing this regardless of pacing. I just wish I had more juiciness. I love the first couple episodes. There was like so much.
But you know what, guys? That's why we do this podcast. It's so that instead of sitting through an hour and a half episode each time, you can get the cliff notes from us.
An hour and a half long from us.
Yeah, wait, sure, it's the same amount of time. I didn't even think about that. Actually, sometimes longer.
Cut out the middleman, which is just the actual show, and listen to us instead.
Come directly to us. Maybe we had to do something special for episode 10. Like put on little party hats or something.
I agree. I love that.
Yeah, let's actually do that.
10th anniversary.
Woo! I'll figure out how to do any form of video editing for the YouTube too. Do a little like...
little confetti.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, guys, we're just so happy that you're joining us every week. It means genuinely the world because we put in a shocking amount of effort into this podcast. I hope it comes across. Speaking of, please be sure to follow us on social media. On Instagram, we are at MyBestViewPod, and on TikTok, we are at MyBestViewPodcast. On there, please interact with us, like our stuff, share with your friends. We'd really appreciate it. And in addition to that, more importantly, give us a follow on whatever platform you're listening on. Give us a review, a comment, anything like that. We'd super appreciate it.
Thank you so much, you guys, and we will chat with you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.